stuff there. I wanted to ask you this because there is the high demand for PlayStation 5 and also Xbox Series X and S. I mean, the problem with the bots, the problem with this rapid buying by a small amount of entities out there, and as the gardening really kicks in right there for you, maintenance is really doing their job. I wanted to go ahead and ask you this. There's really, it's hard for people to go out there and get their hands on one. I mean, I know it's been voiced about there as far as the frustration of fans out there, and people have had to wait outside Best Buys and also GameStops leading into Black Friday for several days. They were waiting. But I wanted to ask you this. Is there any way or anything, anybody being looked in, anything of this looked into? I know in Europe, they caught, or they decided to go ahead and take action against one of those bot makers that it was responsible for thousands of PS5s being purchased on their end. Is there anything being done here in the States at this point in time?
At least locally here in Las Vegas, we haven't heard anything, but you'd hope that what they were able to do in Europe will be shared, and they can use however they identify that it was bots with whatever algorithms they were looking to kind of identify abnormal purchasing like that could be available here. You'd think that it is. It's something that it would be so nice to see retailers take a stand against that, because they're going to sell out of their stock. Like, let's just face it, however many they have to sell for this time period, they're going to sell it. So it's not like they're not selling them if they cut down on that, and they would get so much goodwill from people. You just hope that those algorithms are either being worked on or are about ready to be released. That would be ideal for sure.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that will be the case, and they're looking into that and finding ways around that. But then again, this has happened for the ticket industry, as we've noted several times on the show over the past 2 years. This has happened several times. I know Congress is looking into that. This is not going to be as looked into just because of the fact that how many times has a console generation come around? So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, this could go, or you could apply this to a lot of different consumer products in general that people are looking after. I made the joke the other day of, trying to get a Baby Yoda inflatable, but now you have to buy him, instead of Walmart for under $30, you have to pay $100 or more on eBay. But again, it's just any wanted consumer product. The average consumer is having less and less a chance to go ahead and get these products. And that, to me, I think is very concerning, to say the least.
It is. And, if we go back to when they first opened pre-orders for both consoles, that was kind of a cluster. Bad communication, companies putting pre-orders up sooner than what Sony announced. Like, that whole situation was just bad. So, this has been a problem pretty much since they started opening pre-orders for this console. With electronics, with gaming systems, I just can't stress enough to people. I know how badly you want it. I want them really badly. Trust me, I'm in the same boat. It's just, I would just try not to get 2020 of all years. Don't get stressed out if you don't get one right away when you want it. There's plenty of time. As we get further away from launch, I mean, to me, there's always that sweet spot that once games start being optimized for that next gen, once you start seeing exclusive titles, then that's a great time to jump in, because you actually have those experiences to play that you can only find there. And then by that time, stocks are usually more stabilized and it's a lot easier to find them. So take a deep breath. I know it's frustrating. Trust me, I was there. I had attempted to find some pre-orders for it, and it's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but again, it's something people have to be patient with, and you'll be able to, with the right amount of patience, get one of those consoles at some point in 2021. I think that's going to level off and be more available once that demand weans off a little bit, but the supply will kick in even more, and that's what I'm looking at. But I wanted to ask you, speaking of supply and demand, some of the things that were very wanted over the holiday season. This past week was one of the largest, in fact, the largest shopping period of the year, and in a year that retailers have, for the most part, struggled. It's something that's a needed refresh in a lot of cases. But I wanted to hear what was trending, when you're actually reporting on it from the LVRJ. What are some of the things that you were working on, and some of the things that were trending outside of just the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series debate?
Yeah, so clearly on Sony's side, Miles Morales was a big seller. Quality follow up. It was if you did get your hands on a PS5, that was a nice way to kind of break it in. But on a PS4, I mean, obviously the 2018 Spider-Man was a beloved game, lots of fans. Miles Morales kind of picked that up, ticked some boxes. I know some people are not as happy that it's shorter, but I'm okay with that. Being a gamer that doesn't always have all the time in the world to get lost in these giant games that can take dozens of hours, if not 100 plus. I liked a nice, tight, focused game. Clearly, pre-orders for Cyberpunk are still going super well. Now that it's finally gonna hit stores here next week, finally, that game is. I mean, clearly that was a lot of people's most anticipated for the year from the beginning. So that's obviously a huge launch there. And I also expect to see VR probably have a pretty good shopping period. For all the controversy that you saw for having a Facebook account, which a lot of that is valid on the Oculus Quest, that $299 price point is a big deal for a lot of people. Price has always been, I think, the biggest hurdle for VR.
Yeah.
And I think $299 is a nice price point to hit.
I mean, PlayStation VR for the past couple of years of anything in VR, because VR has not exactly hit the way that it was promised. Let's say 2 years ago, when VR was supposed to be the quote unquote next big thing, and everybody was going to jump into it, and everybody was going to buy one. And then we realized that outside of the PlayStation VR, there was really nothing affordable. And then Oculus came in with their Oculus Quest 2, and like you said, reduced their price to $299, promoted it heavily this holiday period, and it looks like it's paid off. It's actually landed on certain department stores like Walmart on their front page as far as big time sellers on their ads. So you see the I guess the ramifications of that by some great sales there. So I see more people getting into it. The games, a lot of the games are great on VR. It's just the fact that I've always been an outspoken opponent of it, and not because of the fact I really just didn't like the technology or anything. I just didn't think it was going to be approachable to a large audience, to a vast audience, and I thought price was one of the main barriers. It was the reason why.
Yeah, and in the past too, it's because not only did you have to buy the headset, it wasn't communicated that you also either needed a PlayStation or a really good gaming PC.
Yeah.
So the actual cost of admission was way higher than just the cost of the headset.
And you got to buy controllers and things of that nature, like the Move controllers, which were ones clearance and bargain bin just before PlayStation VR came back to life. Yeah, exactly. So I hear you on that.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see, because I have fun with VR. I just don't know that they've crossed that threshold game-wise. Clearly, Half-Life Alyx earlier this year was a big moment for VR, because that was a AAA, fully fledged blockbuster game. But we just need more of that if that's going to thrive. We need more experiences like that, but then you also have to balance that they still have to figure out in future generations the comfort thing. They're not there yet. Your head still gets extremely hot if you have any extended play sessions. So I don't know, VR is kind of a confusing one to me. I see a lot of positives that we're hitting, but there's still a lot there that they need to overcome if they want to reach the holy grail that they all told us it was going to be.
It would be so nice if the creators behind Half-Life Alyx, and we know who all they are, we know who you are, they obviously run Steam, everything goes like that, but they've, they have the Left 4 Dead series, they have obviously Half-Life series. Wouldn't it be nice if they took and applied that into a regular general game that would go to a larger audience once again? Hey, extending the Half-Life series there, or maybe a new Left 4 Dead 3. what do you know? That might make some cash, wouldn't it?
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the irony of all the years of everybody waiting for a new Half-Life game, and then it's Half-Life Alex on VR, and still not really the Half-Life 3 that that we all dream about.
Exactly, and that's the funny part of it. It's just, I don't know. Obviously, they're making a ton of cash with Steam, so they've never really had the need to go ahead and delve back full time into game development. But there's some other companies out there that are in full-time game development that I'm looking forward to seeing in 2021 and beyond. And obviously, I'm going to bring you back on the show to talk more about that as some of these major releases come up. But what are some of the things that you're looking forward to either this holiday season and beyond when it comes to video gaming?
Well, I am going to be one of those people that's ready to play Cyberpunk next week. I've been waiting. I've been waiting, and my reason's probably different than most people. Keanu Reeves is just my favorite actor, so I I was on board to begin with. As soon as he entered the project, I was going to be a day oneer.
You're breathtaking.
Right, right. I think next year the games that I'm interested in learning more about and hopefully getting release windows are Horizon Zero Dawn 2, hopefully Breath of the Wild 2, and I really do hope a God of War. I don't even know what they call it now. God of War 2 again? That we get some release windows. And I really want Halo Infinite to work out. Like Halo has been a series that I've loved, grown up with, and just have really fond memories of. So that's a series that I want to see succeed and really kind of get back to the quote glory days that I remember it from.
One last thing I want to ask you about is something that is coming out supposedly in 2021, although I have to see it to believe it. And that is something that Josh and I have talked about constantly on the show, and that is directly behind me here with Mass Effect and the Mass Effect trilogy that's supposedly be, I guess, refreshed, reimagined, reskinned, whatever they want to call it, what they want to say. It's supposed to be dressed up with something, that's going to be out there. I'm worried, my friend. I'm worried that since the announcement date was in November 7th, and it's 7-day, and it's supposed to come out sometime in the spring, that it's really not going to be anything more than just a simple dressing up. And you, as you know, as someone who reviews games like I do and gets free stuff sent at time to time, as far as some of the things that we get sent to us are these remakes, these reimagining. Right. And sometimes they go very right. Like, for instance, Final Fantasy VII. Which I'm not exactly enthused that it's on the Game Awards best of 2020. I think since it's a remake, it should be in its own list.
Right.
But that doesn't lessen the fact that it's a truly magnificent reimagining and retelling of this game. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum 13, which has garnered a lot of controversy. An old Xbox game, which I truly enjoyed and truly loved at that point in time, has been totally messed up as far as it's concerned, and it's so much so that there's it's got a horrible less than 5% on Steam as far as approval rate, and also the fact that it's received apology letters from the developer and the publisher on how many mistakes were made during the process of development. I want to hear your thoughts on Mass Effect, the trilogy that's coming out in supposedly in spring. You see my hesitance when I say that with any confidence, because knowing the video game world, especially with BioWare in this title. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Really, what can they do, or what do you think they will do ultimately? Because I hope they don't mess this up, because that is 3 strikes in a row for BioWare in regards to their products. And that wouldn't be a good sign if they just go ahead and just throw a couple nice new skins, little coat of paint, and then just call it a day and just say, you know what, go ahead and catch us with the new Dragon Age or Mass Effect down the road.
I want this to be good. I want this to be good. The Mass Effect trilogy is amazing. The ending of 30 notwithstanding. Well, that's a different topic for a different day. I want this to be good. And I think the thing is remakes have seen a really big increase in quality. Like you said, Final Fantasy, you look at the Resident Evil games, these remakes, you can't just throw a new coat of paint on it and call it a day. Like, if you look at the criticism the Mario collection has taken, it's because they just basically didn't do anything. They just said, here you go, have fun with it. And it's showing that people do not want the same game as we remember it, as it played way back when. We want quality of life improvements in addition to some upgraded and refined graphics. So my hope is that Mass Effect is refined gameplay wise. I will much rather take quality of life improvements to the gameplay than a new coat of paint. Like that is more important to me, because even dating back to the 360 generation, right? If you go back and play some of those games, looking at what they can do now, it can feel clunky at times, no matter how fondly I remember those games. So I'm hoping that's what they're spending their time on. The short release window does worry me because it makes you think, how much can they really get done? I mean, it's where spring's not that far away. So I'm worried too. I hope it's to the level of a Final Fantasy or of a Resident Evil. That's my hope.
Because, I mean, this is something where a lot of people just say, you know what, take my money, please. You see all the stuff behind me, all the artwork I have, all the posters I have. I love the series, and I'm just instantly day one, whether it's trash or not, I'm just going to go ahead and buy it anyways. With Andromeda, I don't want that situation to happen again, because it further tarnishes the Mass Effect name. And if you want to go ahead, BioWare, and you want to continue the Mass Effect series down the road, then you cannot blow it here another time with a Mass Effect trilogy reimagining.
No, definitely not. And even looking back to the ending of the 3, right? That was controversial. A lot of people had very heated opinions on that. Andromeda, I like to say, as a Mass Effect fan, I just pretend that game doesn't exist. I just ignore it. And BioWare as a company needs a hit. They need something that's received well, because just as a company, they've struggled lately. So you think, how many chances will they get before gamers really turn on them and just say, nope, we're done? And that will lead to a snowball effect of disappointing sales for their next installment of Mass Effect, and that can just be ugly. So this is important. This is a big moment for that series and for that company. They need this to be good.
Absolutely. They do need this to be good. And if it is, it's going to earn a lot of money and would be one of the best-selling remakes ever that could be ever produced out there, because it's one of those last beacon of titles that are out there that can be refreshed and put out there, and people will snap it on up. And others that are new to the series would be like, okay, what's all this fuss about? What was that was my big brother. That was my dad. That was my mom. That was my sister, big sister, talking about that game way back when. And I want to know more about it. If it's done well and it's done right, then it could garner a whole new audience that could set up things for the series down the road.
Exactly, yeah. So on the bright side, if it's done well, they're going to get so much goodwill back, and people will largely forget some of their more recent failures. So it's going to be hit or miss. This could be a huge positive, or this could be a strikeout, and that would be terrible.
Keeping my fingers crossed, my friend. Keeping my fingers crossed. Well, I'll tell you what, it's always great to talk to you, my friend. But before we head on out, I know you've got, I don't want to say a laundry list, but you are. I'll tell you what, you guys at the LAN parties, both you and your co-host, just done a tremendous job of lining up some of the preeminent list of voice actors, voice talent, and emissaries, and also bigwigs of the video game industry for your show. Please, before we head on out, tell everybody why they should check out LAN parties.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. We appreciate that. I like to say that we try and bring you interviews with some of gaming's biggest names and rising stars. Basically, Ryan and I just try and book people that we think are cool and have really unique stories to tell, and we just try and get the stories behind them.
Well, I mean, who are some of the latest episodes with? Round off those names. Tap them off, man, because I could do it, but it sounds better coming from you.
Speaking of Mass Effect, in November, we had Jennifer Hale on, which is FemShep, as I'm sure Mass Effect fans know. Our latest episode is we had Daisuke Tuji on, who is the voice of Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima. So those are two of our bigger names of our recent guests, and we have some really fun ones in store coming up here the rest of December. So you guys won't want to miss it.
Oh, tease, a tease. Very nice, very nice. But if you also want to hear Nolan North, you also want to hear Greg Miller of Kind of Funny. There's so many different video game personalities that are so well known out there that have stopped by your show. Please, you need to go ahead and check it out today. That is LAN Parties. Come on, you got to say it. LAN Parties right there for you. LAN Parties, wherever you get your podcasts. This man right here spends a great deal of time trying to go ahead and promote that out there, to put that out to the world. And there's a lot of people that are checking out. So why don't you go ahead and be one of those individuals today? If you love the video game industry at all, you'll give LAN Parties a try. And I think you'll be glad you did.
Well, I hope so. Thank you for that.
Oh, no worries. I am every time I check out every episode that when it drops each week. So I know I'm not regretted my decision to go ahead and hit up that dial and go ahead and download your latest episodes each and every time out. You guys do a sensational job. And I wish you and Ryan continued success with your show, LAN Parties. And my friend, I got to get you back on so we can talk more video games. I know you'll be looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077 next week. And is there any last thoughts for our listeners and viewers on the way out?
Don't give in to the scalpers. Don't give in. You can wait.
Well, I hope they can wait because, like I said, it's been a problem that hopefully will get alleviated with time. And people need to be patient out there. There will be more PlayStation 5s and Xbox Series on the way. I mean, Xbox Games Pass, if you have that already, you're already golden right there. You got a plethora of games right there on your Xbox One. And with PlayStation 5, well, if you're just buying Sony, there you go. There's a ton of stuff out there as well. In fact, it's the most popular console right there out so far, and it's doing sensational. A lot of people are going gaga over it. So if you just go ahead and get all the great stuff that's on the PlayStation 4, a lot of those games will be bumping up anyways to the PlayStation 5 once you get that eventually. So you know what? If you buy now on the PlayStation 4, it most likely will get an upgrade for the PlayStation 5 down the road as well. All right, my friend, great having you aboard. And I tell you what, I wish you and yours, Ryan, and all your friends, and of course your beloved one in your life, the best of holidays. I wish you well. I wish you peace, happiness, continued health, and success with LAN Parties. And of course, you got to come back on with us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.